Hi, my name is Elisa.
And I'm Levi.
And we're doing the Do No Harm Act.
It's based around protecting LGBTQ+ rights.
The Do No Harm Act is a Democratic-based policy due to the fact that the Democrats are more supportive of the LGBTQ+ community.
Republicans, however, are more of a survival of the fittest type of people and usually always oppose these rights. They are afraid that their religious freedom and the First Amendment will be taken away from them.
The federal government has to pass this bill.
People also want Congress to co-sponsor this bill, and the Senate Democrats are the ones who introduced this bill. The state and local governments are in charge of making sure people follow this policy and don't break the law.
To get into more detail, what is the Do No Harm Act? Well, I'll tell you. The original Do No Harm Act, originally called the RFRA, or Religious Freedom Restoration Act, was introduced to protect the minority of religious groups, and it allows these religious groups to freely exercise their beliefs.
The Do No Harm Act was introduced to the House of Representatives by Representative Joe Kennedy and Bobby Scott on July 13, 2017. They wanted to create this policy so people would not be afraid that their race, sex, sexual orientation, or gender identity would interfere with their civil rights.
But there's more.
The RFRA was introduced over 2 decades ago, and with this policy, it would be amended and we would still have the religious freedom we had before, but it wouldn't justify any discrimination. With this Do No Harm Act, religious groups cannot exercise hate or violence against the groups that they hate because of their religion, like how Christians often use their religion to justify hate against the LGBTQ+ community.
There are also groups called interest groups that influence the policy. A few of them are the Center for American Progress, Interfaith Alliance, the ACLU, AIDS United, Americans United for Separation of Church and State, and, naturally, numerous LGBTQ groups.
All of these groups have something in common. They all support this act, but also want to protect religious freedoms. Some of them also contributed money to help influence them. The Americans United for Separation of Church and States, for example, have contributed $346,398. The ACLU contributed $1,250.
For the Americans United for Separation of Church and State, they gave their money to lobbyists that can push their ideas out and advertise it. They also paid money into grassroots advocacy and citizen-based activism.
All in all, the Do No Harm Act is in our best interests, and it'll help protect people like the LGBTQ+ community feel much safer, and religious groups won't get away with harassment because they used religion as an excuse.
People need to become more educated and open-minded about the rights of others, so voting yes and contributing money to the Do No Harm Act would be very helpful to spread the word. Someone's gender identity, race, sex, and/or sexual orientation should not get in the way of one's rights.
Go out and vote, as your opinion is just as important as others and can even help shape the world.
What are your thoughts on the matter? Are all people allowed to have civil rights, or only some?
Thank you for watching.
And listening. Bye! I can finally go to sleep.